Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of MTG Sin Senpai. So, I am finally doing one of these videos. It is a breakdown of my draft decks from my pre-releases. So, for this particular one, I'm doing three of them. The reason being, a couple of or a friend of mine, another friend of mine, and my friend's buddies are doing kind of a standard league, and our pool for our league is going to be 3 pre-release kits and then 2 set boosters. So just to prove, because unfortunately none of them are going to be here while I'm doing this, but these are the 3 decks that I ran. Hopefully that they trust me as well. But regardless, I'm going to break down these 3 decks, and these are the 3 decks I'm going to use for my pools. The story is at least 2 of these. I should have checked these before I even set it up for this video, but 2 of these are the ones I used for the two-headed giant, the one where I went solo, and then one of these is the deck that I played at another LGS. Different from my normal. They had actually an event on Monday at 6:30 in the evening, which surprised me. So I decided to go play there. So I did a total of 7 pre-releases this weekend, and that particular deck was just so insane that I had to share it. Small story in regards to that. My round, the store only did 3 rounds, and they did pack per win, so it wasn't the craziest of EV. But just the fact that I did go 3-0 in that particular event, my round 2 opponent, it was crazy. And me and him played 3 games, and we finished our 3 games before both of our both tables next to us, to our left and to our right, even finished game 1. And when I say finish 3 games, it's like they were back and forth games. There was no one game where one person, well, I can't say there was no one game where one person completely dominated, because games 2 and 3, I completely dominated him because of a single enchantment. And it was pretty insane. It's pretty bonkers, so I'll show that deck eventually. But yeah, it was an insane 3 games, were just amazing games. He actually was able to pull off Kindred Discovery with humans, and he was able to pull that off on turn 4, and that's how he got me game 1. And then game 2 and 3, I pulled off the White Virtue and was able to roll in both games, and just how quickly the games went back and forth, and he kept trying to pull up answers, but unfortunately I overtook him with the White Virtue. So that's what happened with this particular deck. I think this is that one, but we'll see. So first off, we'll start off with that one. Let's see if this is the particular one. Yep, it is. So we have ourselves the dice, first thing. I do always like these dice, and I like them so much. I mean, I have a full-on box of just full of these spin-down dice. This was my promo for that particular event. Unfortunately, I did not need it, but for the guys that are in our league, if y'all need one of these, let me know. I mean, this is technically a blue board wipe to an extent, but yeah, there's that. These are the cards that I didn't run in the particular event, and then these are the ones that I did run, which I'll be now building a 60-card deck for the standard league for my buddies. But and then one of the rules we've also stipulated is none of these enchantments, so I'm not going to be able to run these insane ones. But Impact Tremors in this deck was insane. It is unfortunate I'm not going to be able to use it, but it's fine. I mean, gotta make things more difficult some way, because these things are just absurd. But there's that. I got Imidame's Recruiter, an amazing, the adventure, the fact that it gives you 4 power for 5 mana, all vigilant, is nice. And the fact that he's a 3 mana 2/2 that's effectively a 3/2 with haste that pumps your team, absurd. So that one was there. Crystal Grotto, I didn't need it because I only went 2 colors, but I liked the scry effect, and then I on the potential I'd like to splash for the sideboard, which I never really did, but that was there. Frostbridge Guard, it's not the greatest creature, but it was a solid 2 mana 2/2. The Charmed Clothier, and I'm sorry, the fact that this can tap down opponent stuff, I never actually use it to tap down, but because of that threat, a lot of opponents either just straight up used removal spells on it, or locked it down with something, or wasted 2 spell or 2 cards essentially to kill this one. So it actually was effective for me. This is a pretty decent 5 mana 3/3 that triggers Celebration, which is the main reason I ran this particular card. But it's still a solid 5 mana 3/3 flyer that can give another thing royal. The dog token, this one actually was a pretty strong all-star. A lot of the time it would cause my Celebration to trigger off, and then just the fact that it's a 3/3 menace was pretty disastrous for my opponents. Got ourselves a Bestowed Knight. For a 4 mana 3/3, it's not the greatest value, but the fact that it has 1 mana, create a roll token and attach it to a creature, that's pretty effective. So effectively, if I needed to do Celebration, I could do it for 5 mana, or using that 1 mana effect and another cheaper spell. So it's a decent 4 mana 3/3. This one, another thing to do Celebration, mana ramp, and mana fix. So just overall, just an amazing card. 3 mana 2/3 that just ranks a treasure. Absurd. So it definitely helped out. This particular equipment, I actually really like it a lot. The fact that I can equip it for free because of Celebration makes it absurd. And so I don't think I ever paid the 2 mana to equip it. And if I ever did, it was because I had nothing else to do and I just needed to move it to a bigger creature or smaller creature, depending. Aggravated Assault, I mean, it speaks for itself. Double combats in a combat heavy deck. I mean, after turn 4, turn 5, this has definitely been out. I have nothing else to play. Might as well dump all my mana into it to swing in for extra combat, which unfortunately I'm not going to be able to use in the league, but that's still good. Witch's Mark is actually pretty decent. The fact that it's not in addition to the casting. You may discard a card if you do draw 2 cards. So you don't have to discard the card when you resolve this. You discard the card after it resolves. Otherwise, you just don't. So it's actually pretty good. And the fact that it gives a Wicked roll is pretty awesome as well. So there's that. A Tale of the Ages is an absurd card, and especially in this set, that it's just any rolls is effectively +3/+3 for your creatures, and it's just dumb. Just the value that it generates it was absurd. Kellen's Lightblades is a solid 2 mana removal spell that either you can destroy target attacking or no, deal 3 damage, or bargain and just straight up destroy something. Which bargaining I didn't do too often, but every once in a while I had enough tokens or enchantments to make that effective. Cooped Up is a pretty solid enchantment that there have been times that whenever there's that one fairy that's a 1/3 that has lifelink if your opponent has another fairy, I would equip. I have another fairy enchanted with this. I was able to exile it before something happened. I also was locked down a big dude, and my opponent tried to play the 3 mana fight spell. I forget the name of it at the moment. The 2 colorless, 1 green sorcery. Target creature you control gets +1 or gets monstrous and then fights another creature. Yeah, I was able to exile that in response, so it never actually fought my target. Edgewall Inn is an amazing, I believe, both mana fixing, and the fact that late game I can possibly just sacrifice this to go get my adventure guy back. Perfect target adventure would be this guy. I mean, if I didn't win with him originally, I can. It gives me some kind of gas to get something late game, so it was pretty effective. This is a solid 3 mana 3/2 that once again lets me redo my adventure guys. If I've already done him at some point and he's still alive and the game's not over by chance, my thought was to pick that back up and just reuse the adventure effects. Speaking of adventure effects, this particular one I really like a lot. The fact that you can at instant speed make the 2 rats, or during your turn before attacks cause Celebration to trigger. I've used it at both ends. Just a solid red common creature. This was the all-star. This made me go into white heavily. This card is just absurd. If your opponent has no way to answer this, you just essentially roll them. Not only do you make the 2/2 knight, the fact that it's an instant speed, the number of times that my opponents, I did it to them twice. They would swing with a 1/1 or a board of things thinking that they were empty, and turn 2 I would just flash, or I would instant make the 2/2 knight, kill one of their dudes, and the next turn just start swinging away. And then whenever this resolves, it's just a clock. And they almost every time, every time I played it, they had no answer. And just, yeah, it's just absurd. Hearth Elemental is a solid, the adventures allows you to essentially get 2 cards, and essentially you can cast it for very cheap depending on how long the game's gone. So it's a solid 4/5. I like that one a lot. The Prospective Parents, I use it just to fill up the 3 mana slot and just make a dude. But the fact that it makes a roll as well help with the enchantment anthem. Grand Ball Guest, this is just a solid celebration creature. The number of times that it swung as a 2/2 was very few. More often than not, it was swinging in as a 3/3 trampler every time. Cut In is an amazing burn spell. I really like this card a lot. The fact that it deals the 4 damage and gives you a young hero roll to give your creatures a +1/+1 counter, depending on the power and toughness, of course, but still an effective removal in my deck. This card was just goofy with my doubling because of celebration. More often than not, this swung in with double strike, and then with either young hero rolls or the enchantment aura anthem effect or the equipment, all of them just made them bigger. Charming Scoundrel is just an amazing, it triggers everything. It does pretty much everything you need to do. It will, only thing that doesn't trigger Celebration is the first effect where you discard and draw. Depending on how early I aggro this out, I typically would not discard and draw anyway. I would just be causing, either creating the treasure to mana ramp, or I would be putting a Wicked Roll just to get in for that extra damage, which was absurd. Frantic Firebolt is a nice removal spell as well. The fact that it can incrementally get bigger was pretty solid. And we got ourselves a Twisted Fealty. This was just a nice finisher spell and also a roll generator. So that's why I went with this particular deck. This deck was just absurd. I know that there are other commons and uncommons. That these are the ones I had to cut just to overall. I mean, I know when I build my deck for the, like Rest in Peace, amazing card, but not great in limited. But whenever I build my deck for the league, I'm going to have to work on it. And these I actually cannot use. Whenever I participated, if you see that has a nice promo stamp there, they actually gave me a promo pack for just participating and hanging out at their event, which it was really nice of the store owner. His name was Sandy. I think it's Sandy. I heard his name like 3 or 4 times. I'm terrible. But these are amazing cards, but unfortunately I cannot use them in my league. And then here's that promo code for whoever gets it. Good luck to you. Luckily you got it in the middle of the video. And then we got the rest of our commons and uncommons. The black removal in this set is just absurd. I feel like there's a lot of it constantly. And there's just a lot of amazing effects. Green also was pretty, this card is just absurd. I love this card. 2 mana, 2/2 that makes a food token that you can effectively pay and make into a 4/4 that keeps swinging in. Just crazy. And then just the other cards I just did not run in the end. But yeah, just overall, just decent stuff. Trying to remember overall, like everything else was pretty solid and decent. Like, this card's amazing. But unfortunately, it just did not make the cut. And then this card as well, it's amazing for Commander, I feel. Like, this has so much Commander potential. But in Limited, it's just a 3 mana, 4/2 menace creature. That's the way I look at it. But that is the deck in the pool from that particular one. I'll set these to the side because I cannot use them in this league. And then I can potentially open that promo if one of the guys in the league need it. And then I think this is, yes. So these should be my two-headed giant decks. Whenever I did do the two-headed giant, originally one of my friends, actually funny enough, that are part of the league, was going to be my partner, and then his friend needed a partner. Here's the code. And so he went to go partner with his friend, and so I got left alone, which, I mean, it is what it is. To be honest, I actually prefer building on my own anyway. With this particular set, I actually was able to build fairly quickly, and I got it all sleeved up within time. Now, the first couple of times that I've done it, it is not that easy, and at least this particular time, the decks were pretty obvious and pretty easy to do. This particular one, unfortunately, I didn't do too well. I only went 2-2. Game 1, round 1, getting mana screwed and mana flooded at the same time with each respective deck made it hard. And then the other game that I lost, I got gassed out by just flyers, which just, I had no answer. But the other games I was able to roll my opponents because of just insane synergies and effects. So I'll just go ahead and show off the deck. Really like this particular ramp spell, just the fact that depending on what you're needing, either a creature to block or an artifact food is an awesome one. This one's a pretty solid 3 mana, effectively 3 power, and it gets incrementally bigger depending on how things die. Grave Pact kind of speaks for itself, Commander staple, and in this deck, I mean, there's a lot of times I just sacrificed dudes and made my opponents all sack. Now, mind you, my partner deck, myself, had the sacrifice as well, but typically, more often than not, that was never an issue. Solid black removal spell, mana ramp and fixer. 3 mana 2/3 that makes another dude bigger, so not too bad. This one was just +1/+1 counters and generating the ward, which you'll see reason why I stuck with this one as effectively. But I do like a mana sink creature, especially in the late game if you just happen to have it. It's not too bad. This particular sorcery I think is really good. I'm glad that they did put it on common because of the fact that not only do you get 2 creatures back, you can effectively bring back a 4-drop for free from your graveyard and get another creature back to your hand. Pretty absurd. Gruff Triplets, insane power on a creature. It's 6 mana for 9 power on the board that effectively can become 12 mana by itself, depending on how things go. But yeah, just an absurd creature. Hardened Scales, another one of those cards that's just dumb, and it comboed very well with another one of my enchantments, which unfortunately I'm not going to be able to run them, but it is what it is. But in this particular draft deck, it was absurd. You'll see why. Season of Growth, I think, is just a great green card, especially whenever you're casting spells and drawing cards as well. Just the fact you can scry as well just really helps green. Hamlet Gutton, the 5 mana or 7 mana 6/6 Trample Lifelink is not too bad, and if you can bargain, it's a 5 mana 6/6, so not too bad either. Bestial Bloodline, the fact that you can bring this particular aura back from your graveyard back to your hand is pretty cool. This is one of the reasons why I brand the green. It's Leyline of Abundance plus Hardened Scales, and I more often than not would just dump mana. Every game that I got this out with Hardened Scales, I pretty much won just because I was able to dump mana into the effect and just make my entire board insanely big. And if you look at it very carefully, mine's slightly misprinted in the mana cost. They're all shifted slightly to the right there. Which, funny enough, it's only in the effect, the activation in the ability. When you look at the actual mana value and the cost itself is normal, but down here it's all shifted slightly to the right. Now, most people don't see that. I definitely saw it, and yeah, I like my misprint, so there's that. This is a amazing creature at uncommon. The fact that you can destroy target artifact or enchantment on the adventure early game and late game. It's a 6 mana 6/7 that can't be blocked by creatures by Tar 2 or less, so that's pretty good. Tangled Colony, just a solid 2 mana 3/2 that I read this wrong initially, but whenever this dies, it makes the X1/1s equal to the damage that was dealt to it. So if you swing this into a big creature and your opponent blocked with a big creature, it's absurd. And then worst case scenario, they block with a 1/1 Death Toucher, but you're getting rid of their Death Toucher and you get a 1/1 rat to replace it, so not too bad. So there's that. This is one of another reasons why I ran green. This particular card I think is nuts. The fact that it's a 4 mana ramp, that is a pump for your deck as well. More often than not, whenever I played this, I had 2 or 3 other foods as well. So I had effectively 4 mana enchantment that gave me 4 additional mana. With this particular Return from the Wilds, it's a nice little combo, or synergy? It's synergy, because effectively you would just go get the land and make a food while this is in play. That's essentially double the mana for 3 mana. Absurd. Nice little food payoff synergy as well. Just overall, like, I'm sure you're starting to see the food sub theme. Now I didn't get too much of it, but it was still there. Crystal Grotto, just a solid land to scry. Rat Out was a decent -1/-1 trick and a rat generation. And the fact that there's a lot of creatures with the 1/buts, this card was just pretty absurd. Another Return from the Wilds. More often than not, I would get the land and the food. Food Golem, once again, another food that makes food. And I just had an army of dudes that I was able to either, more often than not, I would make at least 2 4/4s and swing in. And then he counts as a food as well. So with that, and then the Sweet Knight's Revenge, whatever, he taps his mana. So with him and Leyline of Abundance, he actually taps for 2 mana. It's kind of funny. So there's that. Devouring Sugar Maw is just a solid 4 mana 6/6. That's why I ran the Crystal Grotto as well, just to make more another human and another food. But 6 mana 6/6 that swings in, and with that, with the Grave Pact, typically it never came off at the same time, but it's goofy and great. The Troublemaker Ufi, it's enchantment or artifact removal, which was pretty much needed in green. I feel like you definitely need some kind of enchantment removal, especially for the virtues, because most of them, when they hit the board, if they are not checked, they kind of game break and win. And then Lich Knight's Conquest. This one, I like this particular card a lot, especially with the brain fart, Grave Pact. Just the fact that you sacrifice all your creatures, wipe your opponent's board, and bring back all your powerful creatures and enchantments or artifacts. Absurd. So yeah, this was definitely a fun deck to play. This was my other deck that I played. There was Blue-White Control. And then you'll see why the control aspect. This particular spell, I do like doing it at instant speed, especially because that effectively locks your opponent's creatures down for 3 turns and stunning them. It's pretty powerful. I like this giant a lot. The adventures are pretty effective, and it's a pretty solid value for 6 mana 6/5. So there's that. Another one of those tap spells. I forget the name of the card from the Lord of the Rings, but this is effectively an exact white version of that same card. We got Savior of the Sleeping. This was a pretty solid 2/3 that can get bigger depending on how you sacrifice artifacts. Ice Ice Rot Sentry. This one is pretty effective for tapping down opponent's stuff, and you'll see the tap down synergy shortly for a reason. The tap down synergies as well, just the fact that it does make him a 4/4, pretty strong. Got ourselves another tap down synergy piece right here. The fairy. It's something I've learned. If you get this early, you want to just play it as a 1-mana 1/1 flyer, because that's just more effective that way. Now, if you draw it late game, that's when you tap down something and stun it as well. At least that's the way I play it. This Spellbook Vendor, absurd. 2-mana 2/2 that you can just every turn pay a mana and make a sorcerer token, and with that 2/3 guy that gets bigger with the tokens, if you have nothing else, just keep putting the same sorcerer token on something, recycling it and making that one guy bigger. Absurd. Ice Out, just a solid counter spell. Effectively, more often than not, I would just play it as the regular counter spell. Sometimes I played it as a 3-mana counter cancel, but it was pretty good. This is a solid combat trick for 2 mana, making something -4, -0, and it's just a 3/4 flying creature, so it's not too bad for 5 mana. We got ourselves a Farsight Ritual. This is a pretty solid draw card. Effectively looking at top 4, bargaining looking at top 8, and there's plenty of times, more often than not, I would bargain this than look 8 cards deep. Not too bad. This is the tap payoff. This card is nuts, especially if you can get something that can do the tap down, which you saw there's a handful of things I was tapping down with. But yeah, this is the fact that you can make an army, increase your army, or just go digging for cards for a single white mana, or not white, a single colorless mana on top of just what you're already doing with tap stuff anyway. Nuts. Bomb card. And speaking of tap effects, I mean, when I had these two in the pool, I'm like, that's the deck. And then blue-white actually worked out. And yeah, it was just an absurd combination. I never got them both on the board at the same time, but if I ever did, it was going to be nuts. I talked about this guy already, just effective 4-mana 3/3. Another one of those goofy tap payoffs. Now, the fact that it puts a stun counter is something I overlooked as well, but in white, this is a tap down, stun something, and it's a +1/+1 counter on one of your dudes at the same time. And then if you're doing the tap down strategy, +1/+1 counters for your dudes. So that's just absurd. This is a foil version, or no, this is my promo version of A Tale for the Ages. So yeah, this was just absurd, especially with that one particular creature giving my every turn paying 1 to effectively give something +3/+3 was nuts. So yeah, whenever I had that, that was pretty strong. Another one of those cards that whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you can attach a sorcerer roll to another creature. Solid 4-mana 2/4 that was just a big butt that allowed me to keep pumping my team. The Inn, once again, is just one of those effective color fixtures. This Tap Knight in this particular deck was extra effective because effectively with Hilda, I paid 4 mana to tap down something and make a 4/4. Nuts. Sleight of Hand. The fact that they brought this back is an amazing draw spell. For 1 mana looking too deep and putting a card of choice into hand is even better. Quick Study. It's Divination at instant speed. Just a good card in general. Stroke of Midnight, that's a solid removal spell for anything that's problematic. Mind you, it's non-land permanent, so I was able to destroy Force Fruition, I believe was the name of the blue enchantment that whenever an opponent casts a spell, they draw 7 cards. So my opponent casted the next turn on my green-black deck, I played 1 card to refill the hand, and then on this deck, I played this and destroyed that enchantment and refilled the hand. So I effectively just refilled my 2 hands, made them a 1/1 human, and they just lost out. Like, I rolled that particular team, unfortunately for them, and yeah, they accelerated me with the Force Fruition, so that's kind of funny. The Cursed Courtier, it's super easy to get rid of the Cursed roll on this, so it's effectively just a 3-mana 3/3 lifelinker. That was really strong in this particular deck. Got ourselves a Protective Parents once again, so it's decent. Cooped Up, once again, another effective removal. And then another one of the tap synergies and puts a curse on an opponent. So I like this particular human wizard a lot. And then yeah, that is the 3 draft decks. I'm going to be compiling and building one sealed pool now without certain enchantments, and then now breaking down on the other commons and uncommons I had in here as well. Let me go ahead and pull these out and let's see. Just go down and look through them all again real quick here. Let's see. There's our dice. Not too bad. Adding to the collection that I have, that's right here. Then take a look at these enchantments. I was really thinking about going red just because these 2 enchantments alone were nuts. And then I had the rat guy, but then there wasn't too many rat payoffs, unfortunately, so I decided not to go this particular route with the deck, but there was a lot of red removal, as you can tell. There are some Totem Tans, like rat generating stuff, but not enough to where I felt like it was as strong as the green-black because of the enchantments. I have a bunch of these Edgewall packs, not too bad. Flick a coin, Grabby Giants, like overall like decent stuff in red, but I felt like it wasn't as strong as the other things I did. Maybe I'm wrong. We have a lot of black here that I had to actually cut. I mean, that's the drawback to doing Two-Headed Giant. There's just so many cards in the pool to look at. And yeah, with this being the case, I had to make a lot of cuts and a lot of choices that I made. Maybe it was the wrong choice. I mean, I even had Brave the Wilds just for mana fixing, and I could possibly have gone multicolor cards, or multicolor decks. The Tangle Span Lookout. Now that I think about it, I have the Season of Growth. I should have ran it in the stupid green deck, but whatever. It is my flaw. A bunch of Leaping Ambushes. But yeah, and Up the Beanstalk is a pretty funny 5 color mana, or 5 mana value matters. Ugh. Proper terminology, and the 30th anniversary cards. My LGS unfortunately ran out of the new ones, but it is what it is. And then we have all these other commons and uncommons. But yeah, just overall some crazy, goofy stuff. Promo was Expel the Interlopers, one of like, what, 2 sweepers. And even the blue sweeper doesn't really count as a sweeper. That's just more of a temporary one anyway. But yeah, just a lot of goofy, fun, powerful things I feel like here. And yeah, now that I'm looking at some of the at least the white and the red, there's a lot of cards I'll probably be adding to my I'm going to go Boros, just because of the White Virtue. That thing alone is just so strong. And then all the celebration stuff, I have a handful of it. So I'm probably going to be running all of those. And then yeah, that is all the decks. That's all the pools. Let's see, those are just token. I guess I already misplaced the code cards. So let me grab a couple other code cards for everyone. Here we go. Boom. So there you go. If you guys get these codes, good luck to you. Hopefully you guys enjoyed these decks that I played. Hopefully I made the right calls. As you could tell, I did separate. At least the first pool was all just the one, and then the second pool was a combination of the 2 decks. But let me know if you guys think I should have gone a different route. If you guys agree with the decisions that I made. Regardless, whichever way, just let me know. Feel free and comment, subscribe, like, all the fun stuff. You know, do the YouTube channel thing. Get me in that algorithm. I really would appreciate it. For everyone else that has been commenting recently, thank you so much again, guys. I do really appreciate it. I read all the comments. Do I comment to every single one? Not exactly, but I definitely do make sure to react, because I do appreciate the time that it takes for you guys to just even watch the stuff that I make, and to take the time to comment as well. So overall, thank you guys. Do look forward to more decks coming up. I know me and the guys are in the current process of discussing when we're going to be drafting next. Me and the guys doing the league. Or if you guys are interested in hearing more about the standard league that we're doing, feel free and let me know. Let me know if you guys would like to see the progression of my deck. I mean, it's one of those things that where my opponents are going to know what is in my deck anyway, so I don't mind sharing that information, and then that gives them a reason to watch my channel so that they know what I'm doing, right? So let me know if that's something you guys would be interested in checking out. I'd be more than happy to kind of keep track of all that as well. And then in regards to the league, I did have a couple of set booster packs that I had opened. These are the 2 that I decided to set aside for the league deck. But yeah, these are all right here. I'm just kind of showing them all off here so that my opponents will know that I did my best to keep it within the league. And then I did just open set booster. Oh, and yeah, a Lay Live in Anticipation. It's pretty sweet. So yeah, there we go. So I will be now working on my league deck with at least this pool. But thank you again, guys. If you guys made it all the way to the end of the video, I know this was kind of a long one, but I do appreciate it. Thank you so much. It's one of the best things you can do for the channel. Do take the time once again to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and never forget. Senpai didn't notice. Good night.